Hello, welcome back to Go and Walkabout. In this episode, I just talk about some progress I'm making in my transition to Swift UI. If you've been following along, you know that in my last episode I was working on what I call my post view with an image viewer. And that was almost perfect, but I had a little bit of a problem with showing the images in the correct size. Well, I already showed you that I have two ways of doing it, with an overlay or with a full screen cover. And I chose the full screen cover because that's the one that gives me the correct layout. But that had one problem, that it wasn't transparent when I was dragging. So let me show you what I've done to make sure that it works now. So here I have the post view that you remember. If I can click on it, I get my image. Now, the first thing you notice, I also go to the correct image. You can see that in the index. And when I select an image, I can start dragging, and then behind you will see the original post appearing. So I needed to have transparency here. And this was the problem that I was having with the full screen cover. I couldn't get that transparency done. Well, a little bit of Googling, a little bit of fiddling around, I figured out how to do that. And the thing is that when you create your full screen cover here, you need to give it the background, or actually the post media viewer, that's the viewer you see here, has a background of type transparent background. But the transparent background, that is actually not standard available in Swift UI, so you need to go back to UIKit to make that work. And that's what I've done here. And you just make a new view controller where the background is set to clear and it's over the current context, etc. And now it serves as the correct background for that full screen cover instead of the solid background you used to have. And this way it works the way I want to have it. It's perfect, it's nice, it looks good, and yeah, this is the way that I am going to implement it in the rest of the product. The next thing I was working on were my followers. And you remember I needed to do the followers because I not only want followers but also collaborators. I initially started moving this view from UIKit to Swift UI, but I still had some things to do in terms of layout, etc. Well, that was fairly easy to fix, because I just implemented the new layout and I completed that, and I have the nice avatar now that I encapsulated in a standard component, as you can see here. So I can reuse that in various ways, or I think I already showed that, but now it's also part of this list and it looks good. We have owners, followers, and of course in the future there will be a section here in between that is the collaborators. And the last thing I worked on, there was a little bit of more work, is my notifications. Now, I already moved the notification list to Swift UI, but I realized that I only implemented it half. So I still had issues with the red markers. I couldn't do the swipe actions on the list to delete it. And I also felt I needed to have an extra swipe action to mark it as red, because not always you want to go to the actual post to view it. You just want to make sure that you mark it as red. So that's what I worked on also. Here you can see I have my list. It's now nicely laid out. I use for this bold text in the text, I use Markdown, what is from iOS 15 default or standard implemented in Swift UI. So I can make up the format text with Markdown. I can put in the placeholders and it lays out the way I want. And I could of course go also with italics, etc. But I chose to do it like this. I also implemented here a little bit of a time marker, how long ago. And here in the top you see a marker whether it's red or not. And I wanted swipe actions. So if I go here, I can go and do delete. Delete on all of them. But in case of a not red notification, I can also swipe and mark it as red to the other direction. In this one, I cannot do that. So this is what I needed to do. So now, just to go up to the top first, where we have the notification row, that's where I format the row. You can see I have my Z-stack with my avatar, and then the red, I put a little bit of a blue circle on top, what is simple. And then I put a stack here with my text, and below that here I need my relative date that I calculated in my view model. Or actually, I calculate it as part of my notification model because it's a kind of a read-only property, and I print it here. And here I use the ability that if it's iOS 15, I just use an attributed string that supports Markdown. My message contains Markdown, and I print that. And if not, I use an external component with the Markdown, what I wrapped in my Markdown view, to show that. And eventually, when I stop supporting iOS 14, what is currently the minimum, I will move this away, and I will only do the top part and keep it clean and reduce one external library again. Now, next thing is that I had to do the swipe actions. So I have my list, and here again, well, let's first start with the simple one. Again, I needed to deal with that I support iOS 14. In higher versions, great improvements have been made from iOS 15, but I cannot use that all the time. So first I needed to implement the on-delete. And this is the kind of standard on-delete that has been in SwiftUI all the time, and that I use to do this swipe action to the delete. But for the other one, the different direction, I can only do that in iOS 15 and up. So again, I made a conditional statement. If it's iOS 15, I do my notification row with the swipe action on top of it, and else I don't. So users on iOS 14 will not have the ability to mark the notification as read, but I don't think that is a problem because there are hardly any users on iOS 14 because everyone can go to 15 anyway. And probably later this year I'll even move the minimum version to iOS 15 because I believe I can do a current version -2 moving forward with this project. And but this works as well. It's nice that I made it conditional, so it's not only that if it's not red, it doesn't show the button. There is a swipe action, but it doesn't go there because it is not there. And that works quite well. Can swipe, cannot swipe. And yeah, that's just because even though there is an action, if there's no button, it doesn't show it. So that's actually quite nicely done. So you can do conditional swipe actions as well. Now, this is just a couple of things I was working on to move it forward in a little bit of new layout, to do more SwiftUI, to do small little refinements, and probably over the next few weeks I'll continue doing that with various topics. Now, this post view is still a lot of story because it's only the list that belongs to the complete trip view, what is probably the most complicated view in the application with a lot of business logic. So that will still quite, need quite some work, but I will work on that in small steps and report back when I have some progress to show. I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next episode. If you like the episode, please like and subscribe. If you didn't like it, subscribe anyway, because the next one might be better for you. I'll thank you for watching, and I'll see you again.